Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls of all ages, welcome to the Paranormal Portal. I'm your host, Brent Thomas, and I'm absolutely thrilled to be here with you. And hope you're having a wonderful evening. Thanks for spending part of your weekend with me. That always is such a great honor and pleasure, and I hope I will make it worth your while. I think I will. I think it should be a good show. It's just me tonight, though. Don couldn't make it in, so it's just you and I and 2 fun-filled hours of the paranormal. So it's going to be epic anyway, no matter how you cut it. But, sure. I'll just do my best to lift this load. I can do it. I'm pretty sure I can. But thank you all for being here and being a part of the journey. That is the Paranormal Portal. And hour number 2 will open up the phone lines. If anybody wants to call in, hour number 2, the phone lines will be open. I have got the number for you right here. The number is 720-923-0500. Again, 720-923-0500. Those are the numbers for fun right here on the portal. And hello, Rick, a.k.a. Purple Hobbit, from looking at the messages here. How do Paranormal Portal? I do good, I think. Thank you. Just saying all the hellos. Hello to everybody that's coming in. It's great to see you guys. We got a good show lined up for you. A lot of material to go through, of course, but that's how we like it here on the portal. And it's a real grab bag of things tonight again, too, but got some pretty interesting things to roll over. So I think you're going to enjoy it. We're going to go into a Brent Swanser article for hairy humanoids. Subterranean hairy humanoids later in the show, so definitely stick around for that. His articles are nothing short of absolutely epic, and I have a lot of fun bringing those to your guys' listening pleasure. He just does such a great job, and it's really cool to have that friendship and that relationship with him to use so much of his material for the show. So thank you to Mr. Brent Swanser, who writes for mysteriousuniverse.org, and if you want to get involved in his group, head over to Dark League Paranormal on Facebook, and that's Brent Swanser's group, and you can meet the guy. I mean, he's just a great guy. So you can't do it any better than that. I don't know how. But welcome, everyone, and let's see, am I forgetting anything on the front end? The phones are working. They're calling in the second hour if you got something to share. Just me. Don's not here. Lots of stuff to go through. I guess that's everything up front, so I hope you guys are ready, because it's time for the news. The only news broadcast in existence that comes with an applause. That's because there's no fake news here. I don't know. There could be. I don't know for sure, but the stories I bring you at least are represented as truth, folks, so that's what we got. First up on tonight's news is an article I just stumbled across, and I'm like, wow, this is different. I hadn't heard anything about this. You'd think it would be a bigger roar, but I don't know. I'm not sure what to think of it. But it says it's coming from BBC.com, and the article is Human Origins, Littlefoot, Fossils, Big Journey Out of Africa. And apparently it's this little hominid skull that they've just discovered, so it's another link in that chain of hominids as I understand it, but let's see what it says. It says a priceless fossil was briefly brought to the UK Research Centre in complete secrecy 2 years ago, in an operation that had more than a touch of the spy novel about it. The specimen was transported across South Africa with an armed guard, treated like an incognito VIP on an international flight, and then whisked slickly, that's a word I don't use much, to the Diamond X-ray light source just south of Oxford. It was at the British Research Facility. The hell is this doing? It was at the British Research Facility that scientists were able to see some microscopic details in the ancient remains that could help to unravel key clues to the origins of modern humans. Details of the operation have been made public only now, as the first results from the X-ray investigations have been shared with the wider research community. It was immensely nerve-wracking, paleoanthropologist Dominic Stratford recalls of the Cloak and Dagger mission. the first time any part of a prehistoric individual has been allowed out of South Africa. Not only are the remains beyond value, after 3 million or more years embedded in the sediments in the floor of South African cave, they are immensely fragile. What Professor Stratford had transported was the skull of Littlefoot, the most complete Australopithecine fossil ever recovered, and given the Australopithecine's position on the evolutionary road to modern humans, this makes Littlefoot extra special. So let's see. Okay, accompanying Professor Stratford and the skull was Ronald Clark, the Witwatersrand University professor, who led Littlefoot's more than 20-year excavation from the Sterkfontein caves just outside of Johannesburg. Also at the party was Dr. Amelie Bodo, keen to use Diamond's powerful X-rays to peer inside the delicate object while doing no damage. Within the X-rays we found we could see tiny structures like the vasculature system, where there had been blood vessels inside Littlefoot's bones, which normally would require physically slicing up a specimen, she told BBC News. Professor Tattersall, curator emeritus at Human Origins at the American Museum of Natural History in New York, is bowled over by the details revealed in the first scholarly paper to come out of the Diamond study. It's wonderful to have confirmation that micromorphology at this resolution can be recovered from a hominid this old. I suppose that is kind of cool. It's kind of a lot of information. And then they're going to talk about the actual technique. And I don't think we all care so much about that. I just thought it was neat that they had a pretty complete skeleton and were able to glean some information from this. But there's a lot more to this that I'm not going to bother reading because we don't need to know how it works. We just need the bullet points more than anything. So they've studied another skull. I guess it wasn't as interesting as I thought it was. My mistake. I mean, it is interesting. I don't know. Any headway we make into the understanding the possible development of things, I think is interesting. And I'm not saying you got to believe in anything, but certainly you don't have to believe in evolution. God, that word was just gone from my head. Evolution, but whatever you believe, it's certainly an old ancestor. Could be an ancestor to some of the modern hominids that are wandering around now. That's kind of cool too. So it just adds a little more to the plate, I guess. Enough of that. That wasn't as cool as I thought, but still, all we can do is look. All we can do is look, folks. Now this is kind of wild. I don't know what to make of this. I think I'm going to actually copy this one over because it's full of ads and I hate the ads. So I'm going to actually copy this over to the Brave browser, which does a brilliant job of erasing advertisements so that we can just get to the meat of the article without dodging pop-ups and stuff. So here it is. This is coming from Vice.com, which take it or leave it. I don't know what you think about that, but here it is. The article is, watch the trippy first ever footage of a time crystal. I'm not sure what this means, but it sounds really cool. In a breakthrough, eerie oscillations from the bizarre new phase of matter was filmed in a special microscope. A time crystal. What the hell? We're going to get like police boxes going through history and into the future. In the first, scientists have managed to capture video footage of a space-time crystal known as an STC, or simply a time crystal, revealing the eerie pulsations of this very trippy phase of matter. Captured in Maximus, a scanning transmission X-ray microscope at Helmholtz Zentrum, Berlin, the footage provides an unprecedented glimpse of the behavior of these novel time crystals, which were experimentally created in laboratory conditions for the first time in 2018. The discovery promises outstanding new opportunities in fundamental research, according to a study published this month in Physical Review Letters. At this point, you may be understandably wondering what the hell is a time crystal? Well, fortunately, Motherboard is an in-depth response to this question that you can read here, but the short version is that these objects exhibit the properties of crystals in time as well as space, in the same way that the atomic lattices of crystals repeat regular patterns in space, time crystals repeat regular patterns in time. I don't even know if that makes sense. So if it makes sense to you, very good. I'm glad to bring that to your attention. In practical terms, this means that time crystals show what's called temporal periodicity. I don't know. In which they oscillate between one configuration and another like clockwork. For this reason, scientists have speculated that they could eventually be used as timekeeping devices or as a future means to store memory in quantum computers. The hypothetical existence of time crystals was first envisioned by Frank Wilczek, a Nobel Prize-winning physicist in 2012, but by 2017, scientists at both the University of Maryland and Harvard University announced that they had successfully concocted nanoscale time crystals at very cold temperatures in their labs. In the new study, researchers co-led by Nick Trager, a doctoral student at Max Planck Institute for Intelligent Systems in Germany, and Paweł Gruszewski, a physicist at the Adam Mickiewicz University in Poland, created a much bigger time crystal, a room temperature that measured several micrometers in scale. The factors distinguished the team's experiment from past studies, even without the added innovation of capturing the time crystal on film. The German-Polish team created their time crystal from magnons, which are quasi-particles associated with the spin wave of electrons within a magnetic material, in an email. Trager suggested that an easier way to think about the concept is to imagine magnons as analogous to photon. I'm already lost. Okay. Well, there's time crystals, folks. I was today old when I learned about that too. So I will put the link to this in, I know some people are very scientifically minded and can track this kind of stuff a hell of a lot better than I can. I don't know what it means. It sounds cool, time crystals. So I thought I'd read it to you. The first time they've ever recorded time crystals in motion, but I'll just put it in the chats. And if you want to check out more about time crystals, you can certainly do that. All right, let's move along to something a lot more fun than that. Not that that wasn't fun, but God, that was like an exercise in pronunciation. And I wasn't winning. I was not winning that. So let's continue on and find something much more to our liking here. This one's kind of interesting. And I think any of us can appreciate this, of course, with the whole idea that, sciences are taking us further and further. Could it be that one day people will heal incredibly rapidly? Like, boom, will we get a cut and watch it heal? Just like the superheroes like the Wolverine and stuff. Which brings us to this article from unexplained-mysteries.com. The article is U.S. Air Force working on Wolverine healing powers. There you go, folks. We're going to have superheroes before you know it. You just watch. Or supervillains, one of the two. Cellular reprogramming could make it possible for soldiers to heal wounds 5 times faster than usual. Keen to give the military every possible advantage, the U.S. Air Force, along with scientists at the University of Michigan, are working on a futuristic way of expediting healing following an injury. Known as cellular reprogramming, the technique works by modifying cells using proteins known as transcription factors, which regulate activities such as cell division and growth. The treatment can be applied to a wound in the form of a spray-on bandage that could, for example, convert exposed muscle into surface skin cells. Oh, Jesus. Okay. Healing the wound much more quickly. Yeah, but you're going to lose some muscle. I don't know if skin's supposed to grow right on top of muscle. Is it? I don't know. Okay. What do I know? There are amazing opportunities in the United States that you don't see in the rest of the world to humanize science and meet critical needs in medicine, said research leader Dr. Indika Rajapakse. We have the resources to do this, and it's our obligation to take advantage of them. Thanks to the Air Force's help, I was able to acquire the tools I need to advance my research into cellular reprogramming and wound healing. Some have likened the new technology to Wolverine's accelerated healing in the X-Men movies. The impact of this research effort can be far-reaching, said 7-Eleventh Human Performance Wing Chief Scientist Dr. Rajesh Naik. The convergence of biosciences with mathematical models can truly provide an inflection point to advance the development of wound healing. Dr. Rajapakse's research can result in innovative solutions for addressing our needs in the aeromedical operations and in future space environments. There you go. What would it be like? Well, I can see where it could be really, really handy and really, really cool. It's certainly not going to, I don't know how that works because it's a spray. So it's not like they're reprogramming a body to knit wounds at, amazing speed. They're creating a spray that will convert some cells into other cells, is what it sounds like. So basically spray on skin. Great for stopping bleeding, but if there's other damages going on inside of there, it's just going to encase it, which may be good. It might save lots of lives, but it certainly sounds pretty amazing. I don't know. It's one of those things, you have to wonder with science. Because you can, does it mean you should? And I don't know. Maybe it's a great thing. Maybe it's amazing. But maybe it's terrifying. Maybe it'll create some kind of weird cancerous growth. Who knows? I don't know. I mean, I hate to be a negative in reflecting on things like this, but it's sure curious. I don't know. Nothing could be that easy, though. Like everything else. It sounds great on paper, but once you start doing it, next thing you know, you got zombies or some stupid crap like that, It's like, thanks for the zombies. Appreciate that. Anyway, that's that article. Much more appropriate to our show. And pretty cool. I think it's encouraging. What's up, everyone? Warchild, how you doing? Good to see you. And good to see everybody coming in. Thank you guys for being here with us. The next article is apparently something was filmed in the skies over Wichita. Wichita. Let's check out what's going on here on unexplained-mysteries.com. Mystery object filmed in the skies over Wichita. Is that it? I guess it must be it. It doesn't look like an airplane. Kansas resident reports seeing a vivid white object moving across the sky before disappearing. Wichita became the focal point of an unexpected mass UFO sighting on Thursday after hundreds of people took to social media to report something unusual in the sky. Photographs and video clips of the anomalous object indicated that it was a long, white craft of some kind. However, so far no conclusive explanation has been forthcoming. One of the most widely distributed videos of the UFO was recorded by Mike Marler. So I'm driving back to work, coming home from lunch, and I noticed something in the sky, really bright, he said. And it was surprising because we live in Wichita. We see airplanes all the time. We're near the airport, but it was definitely different. While some have suggested the object could have been an advertisement plane, Marler remains unconvinced, especially due to the peculiarities of its appearance and behavior. The rumors that it was an Arby's advertisement plane, which, logic would point to that, he said, but it was really fast moving. It was really bright and vivid, and then it just disappeared. A news report featuring the footage can be viewed here, and we can look at that. But the other question I have is, could you read Arby's? Did you see the word Arby's in the sky? If you didn't, it's not a very good advertising plane. And judging by the pictures, I don't think so. So this is from kakeabc.com. Okay. Let's see what it says. I guess we can show this because it's a news clip, so that should be fair game. Oh, we don't want that. We don't want that. I'm going to put a clip of this over in the TFR for the people over there to check out of this news clip. And you guys can watch it over there if you choose to. If you're sitting somewhere and without one of the chats, either YouTube or TFR, then you might want to get there because every once in a while during the shows, I do post clips out there for people to check out. But here we go.
crazy with
I don't think you
speculation
guys on
over something
TFR
they
will
saw
hear
in the
anything.
sky.
Yes, some are sure it was a UFO.
So I'm going to have to continue to talk through it, but essentially it's a news report.
Takes to the sky to find out what's up.
Takes to the sky to find out what's up. I just want to see the actual clip is what I'm in it for here.
Of Wichita residents shocked by
Yeah, I don't think we're going to listen to them, but I'm just looking through this footage to see where is the actual craft. There it is. That's not an advertising plane. There's no way in hell. There's no way you can see an advertisement on that thing. It's not dragging a banner or anything. So I don't know where they're coming up with an advertising plane. Again, though, that's people defending their paradigm. That's a pretty popular thing. But I don't know. I guess it's really hard on the network nights to share clips like this because we have the problem of vocal and sound not carrying over to the network. So I will just suggest you go to tfrlive.com/chat and check out the link I posted in there, which will show you this whole news report. And I can post it in the YouTube as well, since we're not going to have a chance to go through it on the air because it's too hard to paste it together for everybody to see. So let me do that. But it's interesting. I don't believe it's well, there was an Arby's banner. Maybe that is. They did a close-up of an Arby's banner flying through the sky. So maybe it is. Maybe that's all it is. But just from that initial footage, it didn't look like it was dragging anything. But here's the actual news report. You guys can check it out and be the judge. At any rate, I think it's possible. Possible UFO, possible Arby's. I don't know. Now I'm hungry. Just thinking about it. I'm getting hungry. Let's see, where was I? Nope, not there. I was there. Okay, so I can close this. And maybe I'll leave it open so I can check it out later. I think I'll do that because I'm kind of curious as to which it is. I didn't screen that beforehand. So that's my fault, of course. But there's one more article we're going to go through here. And this is, I thought, very interesting and kind of cool. And I guess maybe it'll finally put the flat earth argument to rest once and for all, because if you want to know, you'll just go check it out. This is unexplainedmysteries.com. A space hotel could open its doors in 2027. There you go, folks. You're going to need probably a pretty big wallet to get there, but one forward-thinking company is planning to build and launch a rotating space hotel with artificial gravity. The ambitious orbital outpost, which will be known as Voyager-class space station, has the ability or the potential not only to be the largest, but also the most luxurious off-world habitat ever built. The station will consist of two concentric rings, with the inner ring being used for docking and the outer ring providing mounting and habitable modules, solar panels, radiators, and rail transport system. These modules will have multiple uses too, with some being dedicated to guest quarters and others being sold to space agencies and private firms for science and research. The guest modules will be particularly opulent, featuring furnished bedrooms as a gym, restaurant, bar, and other facilities designed to make the facility a home away from home. The entire station will even rotate to produce varying levels of artificial gravity by increasing or decreasing the rate of rotation. According to the company behind the project, Orbital Assembly Corporation, OAC, the hotel will begin construction in 2025 with a tentative completion date of 2027. Wow. The station will be designed from the start to accommodate both national space agencies conducting low-gravity research and space tourists who want to experience life on a large space station with the comfort of low gravity and feel of a nice hotel, the company wrote. But just how feasible is such an extravagant space station within such a short time frame? Well, while the concept of the space hotel has been around for a while, nobody has yet built one, not even on a small scale. As things stand, building and launching something like the Voyager-class station within it as little as 6 years certainly seems like a tall order. And there again, I'll bet you got to sign a whole bunch of waivers before you go there. I mean, just some space pebbles could just wreck your whole day. Oh no, we don't have oxygen. You're screwed. There's no way. If there's a fire, forget about it. You're done. I don't know. That stuff sounds awesome, and I love that we're moving that way, but it's also kind of terrifying because, apparently in space, nobody can hear you scream. That's what I've heard. It's what I heard, folks. I don't know, but I'm going to tell you what. This has been the Paranormal Portal News. Whoa. I guess it's time for the break, folks. Just in time, so we'll be right back after these messages, and we'll get right back at it once we come back with a whole lot more. So don't go away, everybody. Lots more to come.
Extendivite, a 7-herb compound.
Ladies and gentlemen, half hour number 2 is upon us here on the portal. Lots to go yet tonight, but hope the news is okay. I didn't realize I'd start out with such a cerebral mess at the beginning of the news. I thought they would be interesting, and maybe they are. But as I was reading them, I was like, I don't get this. I don't understand. I mean, I can sound out the words kind of, but I don't understand what the hell most of that meant. Sounds kind of cool. Space-time crystals, whatever the hell. That sounds like, right next to the flux capacitor, for God's sakes, Just saying. But at any rate, we are underway here, and thank you all for being here, of course. We got 45 of you in the YouTubes, and there's a few in TFR, so hopefully more come in. But we'll get through the night and do it as well as we know how. So we got some articles to get through. And right away, I guess we can start doing that. That's the time crystal one. I'm going to close this because I don't get it. I didn't get it. All right. So here's a dust up of an article that we were working on some other shows ago. And this is 15 hikers and campers and rangers share their eeriest experience in the wilderness. Now, I'm here to tell you, I know that everybody loves the wilderness for what it is, but really and truthfully, the wilderness are very foreign places to us. We are conditioned to live in our societies to a degree. I mean, we flatten the earth so we don't trip. We put up walls and we cut our grass so it's, just a little carpeting out there. And, we tailor and trim and mold our surroundings to comfort us. But when we're out in the wild places, we're kind of back where it all started, and I think that, we always feel I think rejuvenated, cleansed, maybe just getting back out there into those wild places and being a part of that primal energy and stuff. But still, I think there's a lot we've forgotten about those places, things that our ancestors knew about and cautioned us about, and those things have long since been regarded as fairy tales and other weirdness and superstitions. But maybe they're not. Maybe there's still a lot of weirdness and wildness out there that we just don't understand anymore. We lost that part of our heritage. So I think a lot of these stories are kind of like that. Little subtle reminders. And take them or leave them. Again, I'm not telling you have to believe in them. I'm not telling you should believe in them. But take them for what they are, but give them at least a thought. The first one in our list of stories tonight is coming from the Occult Museum. This is an article from the Occult Museum. There's just a couple left, and this one is The Cackle of Witches. I don't know. That already sounds creepy. And this is not to be confused with, there's, in the paranormal world, there's two things. There's witches, and then there's like these crones. And I think oftentimes people interchange the witch word with the crones, and they're not the same thing. I think the crones are truly the supernatural creatures that may look like old wicked witches or whatever that we picture in our minds. But the old crones are a different thing. It's not just practitioners of an esoteric or occult art. They are something else. It's from someplace else. But through time, they kind of got blurred together, and one became the same as the other. And it's certainly not the case. I remember being in a discussion group years ago, and somebody said, "Do you believe witches are real?" And I said, well, that doesn't really make a lot of sense. That's like asking if I think Christians are real. It's like, yeah, there's really witches. But I think he was meaning the crones, these weird, decrepit, old-looking creatures that seem to be bent on causing troubles. But anyway, I just want to throw that out there because I find that interesting. Now, this is not something I've picked up from somewhere. This is my own, just through years of reading through many people's encounters and reports. They often use the word witches, and I don't think that's the same thing at all. But anyway, let's read the story. The Cackle of Witches says, I went camping in Big Sur, California, with one of my best friends, and it was off-season and a Sunday night, so the place was practically empty. We picked a campsite about half-a-mile walk to the ocean. It was in a huge open field surrounded by a lush forest. In the background were limestone mountains, and you could hear the crashing of the ocean's waves. Really very epic. We spent the night around the campfire telling stories and eating. We both pretty experienced backpackers too. And we were very diligent about ensuring that we did not leave any trace of our food by our site. And almost everything other than our essentials goes into the bear bag / box. I have my dog with me too, and she's an ADA, so she was allowed on the site. She's leashed around one of the few trees in the field on a long metal leash and full harness. It's a full moon out, and it was pouring. Beautiful blue light across the field, and it was absolutely pristine and breathtaking. Around 1 a.m., something spooks my dog. And now she's used to the woods and has an incredibly calm demeanor, but, she's flipping out, tugging hard on the leash like she is desperate to escape. And she does. She pulls so hard that her harness snaps, and she goes bolting across the field into the wilderness. Well, I lose my cool. I drop everything and bolt after her, and I'm not thinking straight, running into the woods at night. My only concern was getting her. Even if it meant risking my own safety. I rescue her. I find her curled up in a random clearing in the woods, looking ashamed and terrified. Thank God. She ran in a straight line, otherwise I would have been totally lost. Well, I walk back carrying her, and my heart is pounding furiously at the horror of the idea of her being lost in the wilderness forever. The thought now is still unbearable. I can feel her heart pounding too in my arms. She's still terrified. I'm no longer in a great mood. We all head to bed in my tent, but my dog won't lay down. She refuses. Her ears are up, and she's staring intensely at the tent wall, as if she could see through it, and she's tracking something. It takes a while for my nerves to calm down from my chase earlier. I'm working hard at taking deep breaths and reminding myself that I'm prepared for anything that I could encounter. That my dog is simply spooked from maybe a raccoon. Maybe she's just exhausted and acting up. And then I hear it. Cackling. Like a high-pitched laughter. It's full of the disgusting type of joy that's coming from outside my tent. Screw deep breathing. My senses go on high alert. My body tenses up so tightly. It's like I'm about to break in half. I can't even breathe. And then I hear even more cackling, like a group of witches were doing something evil just yards away. It fills my hearing, laughing and laughing and more laughing. It's loud and it just sounds so wrong. I can't even bring myself to look around at my friend. It's like my entire body is given up. The laughs are then followed up, but with blood-curdling screams. It honestly sounded like someone was being murdered, and it was full of panic and horror and sadness. It could have been wolves or coyotes killing their prey, but it sounded so distinctly human. The laughter, the sobbing, the screams. Finally, my friend says something. What the hell? And I even begin to laugh a little because the situation is so intense and wild, and I had no idea how else to react. I can't handle this, I say, and suggest we bolt for the car. It's a mile away, so we decide to stay out, and we just listen to the laughter and screaming until it fades away. Even when it was over, I didn't bother going to bed. Yeah, that's really, really creepy. I don't know, and that's the tough part. There's many things that are said to mimic the screaming. I think the Wendigos are alleged to mimic the screaming of a tortured woman. Some people say that Bigfoot could be as well. Maybe Dogman, maybe Rakes, hell, who knows? But it's all speculation. But if you hear that, the despairing wail of someone sounding like they're being tortured. How do you not respond? And yet being in such primal fear that you're anchored to your spot. I can't imagine that nightmare, what it would be. But I don't blame him. I wouldn't go to sleep again either. I'd be just waiting and locked and loaded, waiting for that sun to come up. The glorious sun rays to cleanse that evil. This is one that's called negative film strips. I was backpacking in Yellowstone above the tree line at about 10,500 feet. We're hiking on a ridge above the lake when all of a sudden we come across a horse's skull. No body, just the skull. We get to our campsite not far away from the lake, near where we found the horse skull, and when we climb down to the lake, we find the body of the horse rotting on the edge of the lake, with negative film strips floating in the water and laying around the shore near the body. Yeah, I'd be curious, was it severed like cleanly, like a knife, or would it look like it was torn off, or what is it? What does that mean? And maybe it's too old to tell. I don't know, but man, that's not the kind of find you want to find at your campsite. Nope, move. We're moving, kids. All right, the next one is Shadow in the Moonlight, and this one should be the last one from this article. It says, I'm not convinced there's an afterlife or such a thing even as ghosts or demons, but I once saw something in the woods that felt so unnatural, it made me second guess how I see the world. I was hiking up a hillside just thick with trees in the middle of the night during a long weekend. Some friends and I decided we would hike to the top of the hill and light off some fireworks. Approaching the hill and surrounding the base of this hill was rolling grass valley. It was around midnight, full moon, light mist, straight out of a horror movie. The strange part was, I wasn't nervous or scared or anything. I was having a great night with my buddies, and I didn't have any of my defenses up, and my buddies and I just hiked in a straight line through the rolling grass valley approaching the hill when something caught my eye. On my right, I saw a tall, shadowy figure standing perfectly upright on the top of the small grassy hill. It was standing there right next to a large dead tree. I couldn't make out any details. Both the tree and the tall figure were silhouetted under the moonlight. The strange part was, seeing this figure didn't scare me. It didn't immediately sense any threat. I almost assumed it might have been just another hiker or somebody having a smoke. I passively turned my flashlight on it, and that's when it happened. In an instant, as my light hit that spot where this figure was standing, it instantly moved just outside of the range of the flashlight. Like it teleported or something. But just as vividly as I saw it standing in its initial spot, as my light hit that spot and the figure moved, I could see it standing just outside the range of my light. My breath paused as a wave of dread washed over me. Something felt 100% unnatural about what just happened. As a reflex, I moved my light to the new spot where the figure was, and as my light passed it, it disappeared. I've never passed out in my entire life. Not from heat, not from getting knocked out. Never. But in that moment, I felt my knees give way from under me, and I just fell to the ground. My friends turned and looked at me trying to pick myself up, and my knees were too wobbly to stand. They helped me, and I tried explaining to them what I experienced. I'm willing to bet it was just all light/shadows playing games with my eyes, but I'll never be able to explain that sensation. I felt a feeling like I had just seen something I shouldn't have seen. Something so unnatural that my body's instinctual reaction to it was just to go limp. Wow. That's horrifying. I would guess, I don't know, I guess whatever it is didn't want to be in the light. And there's lots of things that don't like the light. And you got to wonder, does it cancel them out somehow, or what does the light do? Why is the light avoided? I mean, just usually if you consider, well, the light would overpower it and it becomes, whatever bioluminescence or energy luminescence that they have, if it is indeed a ghost, I always consider that the light just overpowers that and it becomes invisible or unable to see it because it's not giving off a strong enough light to counteract the light of the flashlights. But in this case, it just was relocated and shifted until the second time he shifted the light, and then it just disappeared. So really a curious phenomena. But I would guess some kind of spirit hanging out, Maybe that was the hill where things went sideways for him. It's hard to know, but still, creepy story. So that's that article, and I hope you enjoyed that. I know I did. We're moving on to another article here, and this one is about, it's coming from Urbo.com, and this is not a site I'm familiar with, but it's one that I stumbled on because of the material, and this one is also some glitches in the Matrix. Now, again, we've covered this glitches in the Matrix on a couple of shows lately, and one thing I've found consistently whenever you're researching the paranormal is you'll find lots of sites that have stories pertaining to what you're looking for. But what you'll also find is that they're using the same stories between sites. And so I'm going to do my best to avoid the redundancy of ones I know we just covered. So, but, if I do end up repeating one, just know it's not intentional. It's just hard to find completely unique work between sites. So that's my disclaimer. So we're going to get into some glitches in the Matrix, folks, without further ado. And this, again, is coming from Urbo.com. The content, people share real-life stories of glitches in the Matrix, and they're deeply disturbing. Well, the first one that's on here, I know we've read, and so I'm not going to repeat that again. This one, number 2, I think is pretty interesting. I don't recall reading this one, so we'll read it now. It says, leave a message after the beep. This happened about 15 years ago, one Reddit user explained. I called my friend up, and he wasn't home, so I left a message on his answering machine. I said, hey, it's me. Sorry, I missed your call, but I'll call you later. Bye. And then I hung up and left the house. I made no other calls. Later that day, he called me back and says, wow, that was quite a message you left. He says, who was that girl you were talking to? I was like, what are you talking about? I wasn't talking to any girl. And, well, it turns out the message didn't end after I said goodbye. I had to go over to his house and listen to this message a few times. After my initial message, there was a slight pause, and it continued on for another 30 or 40 seconds or so with me talking to some girl. It was my voice, but a conversation that I never had with a girl whose voice I didn't recognize. You could compare it to the message. I know I did leave, and the two voices were indistinguishable. Not just the voice, but the talking mannerisms. It was my voice along with references to my occupation and activities. Basically, in this conversation, I was talking to this girl about going skiing, but I had to go down to the shop and work on a car first, which totally correlated with what I was doing. And then the message just stopped. It was recorded on one of those digital answering machines that recorded the message to a chip, so there's no tape I could have taken and analyzed. Unfortunately, also, neither I nor my friend had party lines, so that's not an explanation as either. It was just really freaky, and I can't explain it. That is weird. Is that a dimensional thing going on? Was there some kind of bridge that was formed in that one moment that it carried over a conversation from another him and some unseen or unknown girlfriend or significant other or friend? That's really wild. All right. This is number 3. Let me see. We got 6 minutes before the hour break already. My God, it's flying, folks. But this is probably a simple explanation, but we don't have it. Or there's probably a simple explanation, but we don't have it. Driving home on a stormy day, and I see the side road up to the local golf course is blocked off by flashing barricades. Wrote mark of shame, and I also notice a Mercedes parked past the barricades with its hazards on. I stop and walk up to the car and see if they need help. I'm an EMT. I shine my light in the back and see a man slumped over, apparently asleep. I move up to the driver's window and rap on the glass and shine my light, and the driver is sitting bolt upright, unmoving, staring straight ahead. My window rapping and my light didn't cause him to blink, flinch, or move. I look over and the passenger is slumped forward into the dash. Well, this begins to creep me out, and I call down to the sheriff's station and request a code 2, which is no lights or sirens, unit to my location to help me check them out. Their doors are locked. While on the phone, I'll walk back to my truck, get my go bag. As I'm on the phone with dispatch, she asked me to get a license number for the car. And just as a PG&E power company cherry picker truck comes rumbling down from the closed road, I move to go around the truck and get the plate number, and the car is gone. I talked to the driver of the truck, and he said there was a 80-foot tree down across the road, and that he didn't think it'd be open for a day or so. So the question is, where the hell did the car go? And was a tree up one way? There was a tree up one way, barricades down the other, and it's kept me a bit unsettled when stopping at accidents since then. That is weird. Something else is going on there, folks. That's not your normal deal, obviously, but man, that's creepy. Hey, we got 4 minutes. You can get through this one. Many weird phenomena occur during childhood. Maybe kids are just more attuned to weird stuff, or maybe our memories just aren't too dependable when we're young. Neither really explains this next story. At 12 years of age, my mom let me stay in the truck as she went grocery shopping, wrote Parrot Tamer. The guy's name is Parrot Tamer. As I wait, I see an old guy walking towards the truck with an indiscernible look, as if I know too much. He stops 5 feet from the truck, looks at me for a couple of seconds, and then heads back the exact same way he came. It was rather traumatic for some reason and very confusing at that age. That's creepy, but not exactly supernatural. But just wait. It gets weirder. 5 or 6 years later, my dad was showing me home videos of us at Yellowstone, at Old Faithful, and I noticed the same guy, same look, same clothes, peering at us on camera and at me through the TV. I'm freaked out just talking about this. The Yellowstone video was from when I was very young, and I'm thinking 1 or 2 years of age. So that creepy guy keeps peering in this guy's life, or did 2 times anyway. What does that mean? So is this some kind of an attachment? And the kid was just young enough to have that spirit vision and see? Or is he just managed to see something else? Some trans-dimensional thing going on or something. I don't know. That's glitchy. That's some glitchy stuff, folks. We got 2 minutes. Oh, this one's a little bit longer. I don't know if I can get through this one in 2 minutes, so we'll hold on that. We'll come back. But it has to do with a few of these stories involve strange doppelgangers. Yeah, that comes up quite a lot, especially with the glitch in the Matrix kind of stories. Doppelgangers. These replicas of people. I don't know if the thing that I struggle with is, are doppelgangers a mimic, a spiritual mimic of somebody? Are they a dimensional echo of somebody? Could they be, in some cases, a residual imprint of somebody that's still alive? I don't know. There's a lot of questions for things like that, but the doppelganger phenomena is very unique and very weird. Some people believe that the doppelganger phenomena is a harbinger of death, that it means someone's going to die. But I don't know what I think about stuff like that. Maybe there's something to it, but maybe it depends on which one it is. Like if you see the spiritual one, maybe that's the person kind of starting to separate from their body before they actually pass. Or it's just some other being kind of letting you know, or something. I don't know. It always makes me wonder. But that's what I love about the paranormal, is there's so much to wonder. And there's no answers. Every idea is just as valid as any other one. Now we're going to be moving into hour number 2, and I'd like to remind anybody out there, if you want to be a part of the show, you can call in. Hour number 2, phone lines are open. Again, 720-923-0500 is how you get in touch with the show. So if you want to call in and share a story of your own, I'll be here waiting, because that's what I do. I turn on the lights, I read stuff, and I wait. So if you want to be a part of the show, that's perfectly awesome. I'd love for you to be a part of the show. But we're going to go to our hour break here in just a second. In fact, about 30 seconds. So we're going to get into that. I'm just looking at the chats flying along. More of you have come into the YouTube. Good to see you guys. Thank you so much for coming in and being a part of the show. If you're brand new to the show, please get subscribed. We'd love for you to become part of the family. And we do live shows on YouTube Wednesday night through Sunday night. And then Monday and Tuesdays are off, but we also do a podcast. The podcast is available on all the major platforms, so there's lots of opportunities to catch portals if you're interested. But think about it. We'll be right back, folks. Don't go away. One more hour to go.
Play their games. Everybody loves to place their bets. They don't understand the price I paid. They don't care to comprehend. Trace their lines upon my body, dripping scars across my heart. Raging anger boils inside me as their lies keep falling apart. With my silence, I am not a stupid boy. No more breaking me with kindness, just you dance upon my joy. Leading me with empty promise, you're just another fucking mess. Taking off the slice of my sanity, just make sure that you're well fed.
Carol Ann is not like those she's with. They're attracted to the one thing about her that is different from themselves. Her life force. It is very strong. It gives off its own illumination. It is a light that implies life and memory of love and home and earthly pleasures. Something they desperately desire, but can't have anymore. Right now, she's the closest thing to that.
Poltergeists are usually associated with an individual. Hauntings seem to be connected with an area. A house, usually.
Poltergeist disturbances are fairly short duration, perhaps a couple of months. Hauntings can go on for years.
Who's ready for another hour of fun? Are you ready? Are you ready for some more of the Paranormal Portal? Well, I sure hope you are. And let me just tell you. Thank you all for being here with me tonight. We've got a full hour yet to go, but if you're new to the show, please get subscribed and like the streams. It helps us out a bunch. Please feel free to share this with people you know that love the paranormal, because we are all about making this grow and expand and seeing what we can create, what kind of monster we can create in our wake. But just so you know, the show has been completely listener driven. You guys have spread the word. You guys have made it what it is today. And thank you so much for all of you that have done that to help represent the show. And check out the podcast on all the major platforms: iHeart, iTunes, Pandora, Spotify, Stitcher, CastBox, Google Play. We're out there everywhere. So let's get back to the show. And we are cruising through the day, folks. It's going fast. It's going really fast. Hard to believe that time goes so quickly, but the Paranormal Portal is a bit of a time anomaly. I don't know how it happens. I don't know how it works, but the phone lines are open as well. If somebody wants to call in, you can do so. I'll do my best to keep an eye on it. Nobody's on the hold right now. So we got stories we're going through, glitches in the Matrix. And some of them are pretty weird. It's hard to understand. And here's the thing. I really don't believe that reality is just the three dimensions that we live in. I mean, it's such a small part of the whole that is reality. But I do think that we, by our very nature, by our essence, are actually multidimensional beings, but we just so focused on these three that we got these blinders on, and we don't see the big picture. Like maybe certain practitioners of certain esoteric practice or religious practices do, that we don't feel the whole of reality because we're taught not to. You're not taught to trust your senses. You're taught to just do your thing, pay your taxes, do your work, pay your bills, and wait for the weekend. You know, we live these conditioned lifestyles. So I think these things happen, and yeah, it seems like reality kind of breaks down. But I don't know. I really think that this is when reality is displaying its true nature to us, reminding us maybe. And maybe that's the bigger picture for why the paranormal happens. Maybe it's because we need reminding. We've forgotten the unique and robust beauty of the world we live in and the reality we live in. And we've forgotten how much involved in it we are. We think we're powerless and separate and stuff, but in truth, we are incredibly profound creator beings. And don't ever forget that. But anyway, let's see what this one is. It's talking about the doppelgangers. And this is, again, from Urbo.com. Quite a few of these stories involve strange doppelgangers. I was at a friend's place back in 2008, wrote one Reddit user. They've since deleted their accounts, so whoever it was deleted their account. But we were all teenagers, and we had a cool shed at the friend's place that we'd hang out in every weekend. It had 4 sets of bunk beds, tables, a fireplace, TV, fridge, the whole lot. One night, he left the shed to use the bathroom. He walked out of the front door, out of the shed, and turned right, and then stopped suddenly. Now let me explain the layout here, he wrote. As you walk out of the shed, his house is to the left, and to the right is where we all parked our cars. Further out, you're left with empty fields and trees. It was dark by now. The lights were from the house illuminated the spaces between the house and our cars, but trailed off past where we'd parked. As I took a step to the right, intending to go behind the cars to relieve myself, I saw my friend's older brother standing there. I watched him for a good 5 or 10 seconds as he stood there facing the darkness. He then proceeded to walk behind a couple of trees and a car before he disappeared. Confused, I walked back into the shed and asked my friend what his brother was doing by the cars. The conversation went as follows. Hey man, why is your brother doing out by the cars? What do you mean? We just walked off behind the cars. The brother says, I'm right here. I looked over, and there his brother was, sitting down on one of the chairs with a drink. He was wearing the exact same clothes as I saw him in, and the only way to get into the shed was through the door that I was standing in the way of. To this day, I have no idea how it all happened. I'm guessing I was just seeing things, but the fact that I watched him walk around for a good 10 seconds has always puzzled me. I've never had anything else like that happen. Another Redditor shared a doppelganger story that seems right out of the Matrix. This happened to me in the 3rd grade, and it scared me so much I started crying and had to go to the office to talk to the principal about it. Wrote this name, whatever the hell that is. KLSI832, KLSI832. I was in the hallway for misbehaving with my neighbor, Tad, who was a year younger than me. Came walking out of class to my right. He passed in front of me and headed down some stairs. The kids exchanged a friendly greeting. 20 seconds later, Tad walked out of the same class, passing in front of KLSI832, and walked down the stairs. I just stared at him, confused and afraid. And he looked back like, why are you looking at me like that? I never realized how much it was like the Matrix deja vu. That's hard for a little kid to try to suck that all in and work with it. I don't think most of us adults could. So, yeah, that'll cook your bacon. This one's not particular creepy, but it's certainly confusing. One time I spilled a bowl of SpaghettiOs, and as I was cleaning them, I noticed that one was on the ceiling 9 feet up, wrote Project Zeta. Even your SpaghettiOs can be paranormal. I didn't even drop the bowl. I just tipped it over onto the counter by mistake. But sure enough, a single O was right there stuck to the ceiling. I don't know. I don't know. That's the thing. And that's why I say, to share stories with the show, you don't have to have these incredibly profound and robust stories. Sometimes it can be as stupid as there's a SpaghettiO on the ceiling that shouldn't be there. I mean, it sounds silly, but I'm telling you, that's good enough. It's good enough for me. It says, we think we can actually explain this one. Someone else had somehow affixed the piece of pasta to the ceiling, and Project Zeta was simply the first one to notice it. After all, nobody makes a single bowl of SpaghettiOs. If you're willing to eat the stuff once, you probably got a few cans sitting around. Either that, or there was a SpaghettiO magnet embedded in the ceiling. Our opinion, both explanations are equally plausible. All right, we do got a call, so let's see who's calling in. We'll interrupt our schedule here for a second to take this call. And this is area code 626. You're on the air.
Hi, Brent. It's Ruthie.
Hi, Ruthie. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing much better. Thank you.
Oh, I'm so glad. Good to hear from you. What's on your mind tonight, milady?
Oh, I just wanted to tell you a ghost story that happened to me 2 weeks ago in the hospital I was at.
By all means, please.
Okay, let's see. I discussed it with a friend last night, so I kind of have a better idea of what happened. Went to the hospital about 2 weeks ago. I had to have surgery. And when I first got to the hospital, I got a really uneasy feeling in the parking lot. I had to travel about 30 miles from where I live because of insurance.
Oh,
and I thought, you know what? I'm really uncomfortable here. I just had like this feeling of doom. Oh. I even told the ambulance driver, I don't want to stay here. Take me back.
Wow.
And they looked at me like, we can't take you back. So when I finally got into the hospital, I know, when I finally got into the hospital, I felt better because the energy was better.
Okay.
And my encounter didn't start for about 24 hours. I had a really bad infection in my gallbladder, so they had me pumped up on like major antibiotics.
Wow. Okay.
So I was real sleepy.
Uh-huh.
But I don't, you know me, all my stories, I usually do see things in hospitals, so
Sure.
I know what I saw and heard.
Right.
So I started hearing voices coming out, and this is weird. Started hearing voices coming out of the IV stand. They are, they're mechanically do beeping at night, I guess, to let the nurses know either it's stopped working or you need another IV.
Sure.
And that's normal. But then I started hearing voices coming out of it.
Oh.
And I was like, oh, no. I was like, oh, no, not this early.
Yeah.
And so I kind of put up with it for the night, and then the next night it got worse.
Oh.
And I finally called the nurse, and I told her, come here, you know, I want you to hear this. It's giving me a headache. And I said, this thing's making noise. And so she's fixing it. And I said, no, listen, there's voices coming out of it. She actually heard the voices, and it scared her to death. She said, what was that? I said, you tell me. I go, it's your hospital.
Yeah, no kidding. Oh, no.
And then after surgery, it got worse. I was in so much pain they had to give me like pain pills. So called the nurse, and I said, you know, I can't sleep. I was crying. It hurt so bad.
Yeah.
And so that night when I saw all the different energies come into the room, and I felt the energies anyway when I got there. So first it was some of my ancestors, like my great-grandmother, my grandmothers, and my grandfathers.
Uh-huh.
And that was cool because they were there saying you're going to be okay.
Oh, good.
And they were there for 2 nights. Yeah. And so, you know, of course I prayed and, you know, I said, okay, I'm not feeling good. So I put protection around myself. And then later on that night, I saw an angel, which was great. You know, to me, it was Archangel Michael because I'm always talking to him. So I'm like, oh, cool, he's here.
Oh, good.
And then my pain got real bad, and I started getting a really bad headache. And then I turn over, and I see this huge figure, black, tall, skinny. I've never seen this creature before. As tall as the ceiling. So if the ceilings were like 9 feet tall, he was about 9 feet tall.
Oh, God.
And I just looked at him and I was like, what do you want? Uh-huh. You know, and I just had this feeling of becoming weaker and weaker.
Uh-oh.
And finally I just said, you know, I need to sleep and you need to leave. And I go, I know you're not positive.
Uh-huh.
So I put protection around myself and called the nurse and had her give me more pain medication. Didn't mention anything about that to her.
Sure.
But that night, something happened to me, and I didn't realize it till the nurse talked to me the day after. She said that my heart almost crashed.
Oh, jeez.
And I was like, what? Yeah. I was like, what? So I'm thinking the thing probably tried to take my energy.
Yeah.
But I ran this over with a friend that I had in college, and she says, well, that black being was a lower entity, negative entity.
Mm-hmm.
She says it was keeping some of the spirits there that had passed. And she says it was after you because it was hungry. And I said, oh, yeah, I know. Oh. I wasn't scared, but I just was like, wow, this is like so weird.
Oh.
This was in East Los Angeles. It's the older part of Los Angeles.
Okay.
And they have some of the best doctors and the best little teeny hospitals.
Mm-hmm.
Well, on the way home, I finally told the doctors, I've got to go home.
Right.
I knew if I didn't get out of the hospital, something else was going to happen. I just knew.
Sure.
So I get in the Uber to go home, and about 3 blocks down from the hospital is Resurrection Cemetery.
Okay.
And I was like, oh, my God, my ancestors are buried there.
Oh.
And it was just so nice to get home. It was a beautiful day, and I got home and been resting, you know, feel real low energy, but that's normal.
Uh-huh.
But I just wanted to share that experience with you. It was just so crazy.
There is something about hospitals. There is something about hospitals. Yeah. They definitely are some dark things there. And I suppose, you know, those are places that would draw those low vibrational entities because there's so much psychic imprint and energy. Mm-hmm. But, oh, my God.
Oh, yeah.
I'm glad you're okay.
Yeah. I know, me too. So I came really close, I guess, to really being attacked and losing.
Yeah.
And, you know me, I have, you know, these things happen all the time to me. So,
Sure.
yeah, I thought I'd share that. I've been okay since, you know, nothing's been bothering me.
Okay, so you didn't bring anything home then?
Scary.
You're right? You
Yeah,
didn't bring
I'm home.
anything.
And it was hard being in a hospital during COVID.
Oh, I can't imagine.
The nurses
Yeah.
and I had a talk too. Yeah, I cried every night. I was crying because I just didn't want to be there.
Yeah.
I was trying to be the nicest patient. They said, "No, you're in pain. You don't have to be nice. Don't apologize."
Well, I'm glad that that's all over now and you're doing okay. I mean, we certainly are pulling for you all the time. So stay healthy.
Oh yeah, I've got a couple weeks. Oh yeah, I've got a couple more weeks to be in bed and I'll be good.
Okay.
But yeah, I just wanted to share and listening to the stories tonight and love it. Just having a good time.
All right, Ruthie. Well, thank you so much for calling in and being a part of the show. I appreciate it.
Okay. Good night, Brent.
Okay, good night. There you have it, folks. Great call-in. Thank you, Ruthie. Those dark things, I don't know what they are. I know there's all kinds of ideas, shadow people, you know, this or that. And maybe the terminology isn't important, but whatever they are, there does seem to be lower vibrational entities that seem to subsist off of us. And I think maybe in their true and proper sense, they do a good service. Don has talked about that on the show when he covered the stories from the First Nations tribe. He listened to a shaman being interviewed on Art Bell's old program, and the guy talked to him talked on this program about shadow people being a good thing because they would come and draw out the negative energy, feast on it, feed on it, and cleanse it. And so, but is it possible that somehow becomes perverse? And maybe, I don't know, or maybe it's something else entirely. But we got another call here, so let's get to the next call. And this is area code 410. You're on the air.
Hey, Brent, it's Andrew at Purity. How you doing?
Good, brother. How you doing?
Pretty good. I just wanted to comment on something you said, I think it was 2 nights ago. You were talking about orbs and how, many of them can be, deciphered as, dust or some other normal explanation.
Mm-hmm.
So I just kind of want to talk about it in my regular explanation. I totally agree with you on what you were saying. Since I had that one experience that, I called in about before that changed my life with the big light in my backyard
Right.
many years ago.
Sure.
And the footsteps. And, when I guess I just kind of wanted to share, when you see something like that with your own eyes, it wasn't just like, you didn't see anything, you take a picture and then, there's an orb on the picture.
Right.
You see the orb with your own eyes.
Yeah.
It doesn't look anything like the orb I saw, didn't look anything like those pictures.
Right.
You see by a lot of people posting, where it's like a little faint glowing thing. And I guess a good way to tell, I guess, if it's a good orb or if it's a real orb, is it brighter in the center than it is on the outer edges? That means, I guess, the light is coming from the center, and it's not a glare
Right.
of an object or the camera lens.
Mm-hmm.
And because, still to this day, I've never seen a light, a man-made or natural, ever like that. What I saw that day, with a color like that or a brightness like that. So I definitely just wanted to kind of verify what you were talking about the other night, that it's definitely exactly like you described, a lot of orbs can be explained, but when it's a real orb, and especially if you get on picture, it's going to be probably just like a white, shining, bright ball. It's really intense when you see it in person with your own eyes.
Yeah, and I've seen 2 of them in my lifetime, and both times it looked like a little golden sun. It looked like a little sun. The first one drifted right past my face back in, God, what was it, 1980, no, maybe about 1990. And I was sitting just on the floor watching television, and this ball of light just drifted in front of my face. I mean, there was no camera involved, and I didn't know what the hell it was. I had no concept, but I was like, what the hell is that? I suppose I could grab it. But I thought, no, I should not grab this. So I didn't. And then the last time,
that's strange.
Yeah, and the last time I saw it was actually in this house, the same house that I do the show in. And I got up one morning, went to the kitchen, was going to get my coffee, and as I Went into the kitchen, turned the corner to go in between the cabinets. A ball of light was about a foot off the floor and shot past right up in front of me and shot past my legs and disappeared. Same looking thing, though. It's still both times it looked like a little yellow sun about the size of a quarter. So.
Oh, that's really interesting. Yeah, the one I saw, it didn't really have a yellowish color to it. The one I saw was white.
Okay.
But it had a bluish glow to it around it. And then and one weird thing that, looking back on it, or even after it was gone, the night that it happened, I didn't realize it when it was happening, but I realized it afterwards. That after I saw it, I realized, it was so bright, but it only seemed to light up the immediate area, maybe like the ground right underneath it, and maybe a foot around it.
Sure.
So even though it was so bright, like you would think it would light up the woods all around it, for as bright as it was,
Sure.
but it wasn't. It's almost like that light was almost contained in its own dimension or something. It was really strange.
That's an interesting thought. You're right, because they do kind of look like flashlights, but they don't really shine out. You're right. They kind of seem to be localized. That's a really good observation.
Yeah, it's weird how they're so bright, but yet they don't emit very much light. Yeah, it is strange. Almost like it's more of just a bright glow than actually like a projection of light. Yeah.
Right, exactly. Like it's a living light. Maybe that's the difference, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Very cool.
Yeah, but I just wanted to share that because I thought it was relevant to what you're talking about the other night. I just thought that was interesting information.
Well, thank you, brother. I appreciate you doing that, and thanks for being a part of tonight's show.
No problem, man. Have a good night.
All right, good night. Very cool. Good call-ins. I love hearing from you guys. Thank you so much for calling in and being a part of the portal. I mean, I can do so much, but you guys bring a whole nother layer of unique and intrigue and amazing conversation, ideas, thoughts. That's what I love about this show is the ability to discuss the portal, the paranormal portal, that is. All right, we're going to try to squeeze one more of these before the last break of the night. And this is toy monkeys are always creepy. My dad had this little toy monkey that he used to call his, no, we read this one. This is the favorite child one. This is one of those that repeated. Let's see. This one says Stephen King's marketing department really knows what they're doing. Oh, this one isn't. Well, no, I guess this is good. This is a glitch. I was walking through the Best Buy one day a couple of years ago, and I walked past a rack of books called Debaucherar. Recalled Debaucherar. Okay, so that's the Reddit user that actually wrote the original. Sitting on the rack was the last book in the Dark Tower series from Stephen King. The front cover had the picture of Roland in front of the tower with the field of roses behind him, and I held the damn book in my hand and looked it over. I remember being puzzled about why it was in a Best Buy, but whatever. I'd read the first 6 and had been waiting for the last one, but my spending money was low that week, so I set it down and decided I'd come back the next week after I got paid to buy it. I went back the next week, and it wasn't there. It slipped my mind for a bit, but about a month later, I went to Barnes & Noble to get my copy, and they told me it hadn't come out yet. The release date for the book was 6 months later. I pre-ordered it then. When the book actually came out, I went to pick it up. I described the cover out loud to make sure I wasn't crazy. The clerk handed it to me, and here it was, exactly as I'd held it in Best Buy. We can't explain why the book was in Best Buy, but publishers often send advance copies out. So this is the Erbo commenting on that, and that's a good point. It could have been an advance copy that was just laid out and forgotten prior to the actual publication, but still, what if it's not? But I don't know. Very strange. Very cool. Very cool and very strange. Also, if you're watching us tonight or listening from TFR, iHeart, tune in and TalkStream Live. Remember to stick around after the show because coming up next will be Paisley Wild Spaces Between, and she'll be doing her show. And perhaps you can catch some Longbeard over there because I'm sure he'll be a part of the show over there. But that's always a great show, and she's a wonderful friend, and definitely support what she's doing because she's working hard. She's working hard at representing all of this esoteric stuff, and she does a brilliant job. So But we are going to go to the last break. And when we come back, I think we will probably spend some time with Mr. Brent Swancer's article. And hopefully I can squeeze it in the half hour, because some of his articles are quicker than I expect. Some of them are longer. It depends on both my reading ability and the amount of material. But his articles are incredible. So we'll get to that. It has to do with hairy humanoids in tunnels and subterranean areas. So creepy nonetheless. But anyway, we'll get to that when we come back, so don't go away. Lots more to come here on the portal. 70 of you are in here in the YouTube. Good to see you guys. Thank you so much. And as always, hello to all of you in TFR. Good to see you. Lucky Bam, All One, and Nightshade. Maybe I'll do the shout-outs when we come back, too, for the YouTube crowd. So if you want to be shouted out, start chatting, and I'll see you when I come back. All right, don't go away. Just a couple minutes. Got to pay the bills, and we'll be right back at it. So you've been warned. All right, folks. Last half hour. Wow. It has flown by. But before you leave tonight, just smack that like button. Smack the like button. Show it what time it is. I'd love for you to do that. It does help us out a bunch. I am reading chat. I always read chat. Not always. I barely ever get a chance to, but during breaks, I sit back and read chats. See what you guys are talking about. What kind of mischief are you brewing up in there? And usually it's a bunch of trouble. I'm just saying. But welcome back. We got 25 minutes left of the show. It's flown by tonight. Always a lot going on. Always I got more material than I got time to do it, but I think that's okay, right? We are going to do an article from our very own good friend of the show, Mr. Brent Swancer, the most prolific paranormal journalist out there, in my opinion. Does the greatest job on the articles, full of information and references, and I'm just baffled by his ability to not only explain a phenomena, but find some of the most obscure references and supporting information of any articles I've ever read. Now, there's a lot of great articles out there, and certainly MysteriousUniverse.org has a lot of them. There's a lot of great writers, and there's Nick Redfern writes over there as well as Paul Seaburn and several other authors, not only Brent Swancer, but combined, it's just an amazing site full of amazing information, an incredible podcast in their own right. Mysterious Universe is pretty phenomenal. So definitely check it out. If you haven't already, go to MysteriousUniverse.org. Check it out. Full of Fortean information of all types. Paranormal, Fortean, you name it, it's there. So, and thousands of articles are archived over there. It's just incredible. So, this is the article tonight. We're going to read from Mr. Brent Swancer from August 20th, 2019. Truly bizarre accounts of hairy humanoids in the sewer. And I don't know about you, but I oftentimes think about that. It's like, it ain't just rats and alligators down there, folks. There's all kinds of legends of subterranean creatures that existed prior to our sewer systems. So I can't imagine that they would turn down a pre-made tunnel system with networks all over to all kinds of different resources. It's kind of a perfect storm for some unknowns to be hanging out in our shadows. All right, says accounts of hairy hominids are really run the range of the strange. Well, that was good poetic first line. We have reports from forests, deserts, tunnels, and even places where they have no business being at all, such as the United Kingdom and every state of the United States, yes, including Hawaii. Well, yeah, we talk about the Menehune and stuff, sure. With such a presence across the board, it seems that there are a few places where one would not expect to run into one of these beasts, but one of these must certainly be the dank sewer systems and tunnels that run beneath our feet. After all, why should anything of this nature be lurking down there? Yet, there are more reports of Bigfoot-like creatures than you might think originating from the sewers, and here are some of the strangest. This is some seriously weird stuff, so get ready for a wild ride. On the one very odd account, comes from May 14th, 1982 edition of Herald Journal in Syracuse, New York, in which it was reported that an 8-foot-tall hairy monster was running amok in the city sewers of Buena Park, California. The creature, cleverly dubbed Buenafoot, was said to have sparked more than 200 calls to police, asking about it or reporting sightings of the beast, and a monster watch was even mounted without much success. However, there was one report of some men who had claimed to have used divining rods to find the presence of the creature. And I'm not chuckling because that's ridiculous. It's just not what you'd probably call and tell the police. The bizarre news report itself says it all, reading, police say they have received more than 200 telephone calls from people curious about reports of an 8-foot-tall man-like creature living in the city's sewer system. Buenafoot appeared to appear at a monster watch, but two men used divining rods claiming they saw footprints and handprints that prove a huge hominid is nearby. Humanoid. Hundreds of people nationwide have called police to inquire about their safety and the safety of relatives in the area, since 5 people reported Monday they saw the beast walking down a storm tunnel We've had 200 to 500 calls easily, said Officer Terry Branham. We're telling people we have investigated the area and found nothing there. Dennis Ruminer, a member of a group called the Special Forces Investigations, which investigates unexplained phenomena, claimed Wednesday he had found footprints and handprints of the beast in a drainage tunnel. We were looking around the mouth of the tunnel, then someone shouted, "There's a track," Ruminer said. And there were a lot of people around, and as we went to look, a kid stepped on the track. Really? So we only saw the front part of the track. It was a humanoid foot with 5 big toe marks and about 7 inches across the ball of the foot. That's a big foot. Before we got a good, clear look at it, another kid stepped on it. Get rid of the kid. Don't bring kids on investigations, folks. Come on. It's like Investigation 101. No kids. But before, which completely obliterated the track. But Ruminer said he and his partner, Tom Muzila, used divining rods to track the creature and went inside the tunnel, where they found a handprint. Ruminer said the team made a plaster cast of the prints and took pictures of several other sets of prints discovered further back in the cave. Frank Missanelli, manager of the apartment building near the drainage ditch, said he heard the beast, but didn't see it. It roared and growled just like a dinosaur in the movies. Missanelli said about 100 believers held a monster watch Tuesday night, but failed to spot anything resembling the beast. Well, that's a tunnel. I was like, what the hell is that a picture of? It's a tunnel. Okay. Perspective and all that. What in the world was going on here? There have certainly been other reports of strange creatures apparently taking shelter in such dark places, such as an odd case mentioned in the book Monsters of Illinois, Mysterious Creatures in the Prairie State by Troy Taylor. In May of 1963, there was a rash of sightings of a strange hairy wild man in the area of Centerville and the outskirts of St. Louis, Illinois, in the United States. The sighting started on May 9th and escalated until police claimed that they were getting around 50 calls a night from people who claimed to have seen the beast, sometimes right in their yards, and with at least one report of the creature attacking a man, although police never did get a view of it themselves. Some reports mentioned that the fierce and bizarre beast had a habit of disappearing down into sewers or tunnels, and one such report came from a group of children who claimed that the creature that looked half man, half woman, and with half bald head and half head of hair was often seen lurking around a housing project in St. Louis on 9th Street, and that it had a habit of plunging down into the tunnel on 12th Street. Unfortunately, the sightings dropped off and stopped by the end of the month, meaning we will probably never know what these people saw. Another case, which is hard to categorize, originates from the rugged Cascade Mountains of Skokomish, Washington, where there was a long abandoned train tunnel called the Cascade Tunnel, where there reportedly dwells a hulking beast with shining yellow eyes. One account of this creature was written in Brad Steiger's book, The Real Monsters, Gruesome Critters and Beasts from the Dark Side, in which a witness called Dave tells a frightening encounter within the tunnel. The witness says that he had gone to the tunnel to investigate the reports and take some photos, and that when he was about 40 feet in, he had seen the glowing yellow eyes of the creature himself, remarking that no normal animal's eyes shone like that. The eyes apparently belonged to an indistinct, massive, shadowy figure standing out in the dim murk that was reportedly standing at least 9 feet tall. Those eyes are red, though. I would like to point that out. Startled, Dave fled to his truck in a panic. As soon as he got in it, he claims to have heard a loud metallic bang from the tunnel entrance, which was enough to send him roaring off in his vehicle. A few days later, Dave went back to the site with some other people who were curious as to what he had seen, and they would also see the yellow eyes peering from the darkness, but none of them would ever go back. Was this a reptilian humanoid of some kind? Was it a Bigfoot using the tunnel as a shelter? Was it a ghost, spirit, or some other supernatural entity? Interestingly, there have been Bigfoot reports from that very same area, but the glowing eyes seen here seem to be a remarkable detail. Speaking of hairy monsters, the sewers from Linda Godfrey's blog, we have a case of what appears to be actual werewolves running about in the sewers of the town of Minot, North Dakota. Godfrey claims that she had first gotten wind of these reports from mail sent by a witness she calls Pete, who said he had apprehended a burglary suspect who had quite the outlandish tale to tell. She writes of the account and even touches on a similar account as follows. The guy, burglar, went on to explain, said Pete, that he and a friend of his were fooling around by a large culvert down by the river. This particular culvert is about 6 feet across, easy for a man to walk in, and it is inside the city of Minot and leads right out to the bank of a river. The suspect said that he and his friend had seen something in the shadows that was about 7 feet tall. He told my friend that they had also stepped on what they thought was a body while they were walking in the culvert. He stated that he and his friend had run out of there. The suspect had said that werewolves were living in the sewer system. While this sounds, of course, crazy, I have been noticing a few things since hearing the story. The city police department has had a couple of calls within the past couple of months concerning manhole covers being displaced or off of manholes around town. Normally, I wouldn't think much twice about those types of calls, but it now strikes me as odd. Personally, I've never been able to shake the mental image of two criminals stumbling over a dead body as they flee the culvert after spotting a 7+ feet tall something, watching them from the shadows. And may not be the only place where people should take extra care around the city water and drainage systems. In Monsters Among Us, I shared the story of a brother and sister who claimed to have seen something similar in a Los Angeles suburb, and Minot does boast a river and lies near several wildlife refuges. The habitat is certainly there. Very odd to say the least. Moving out of the United States, we have a rather outlandish report given on the site British Bigfoot sighting reports concerning what is referred to as the Beast of Barmston Drain. Supposedly a half-man, half-dog creature that emerges from the sewage drain to terrorize the countryside of Hull in England. Some of the reports have been truly dramatic, such as one witness who actually reported having seen the monster jump over an 8-foot fence with a full-grown dead German Shepherd in its jaws. The beast has acquired the nickname Old Stinker, and Hull historian Mike Covell has supposedly had over a dozen reports of the creature roaming along the drain, even going so far as to organize a werewolf hunt to try and find it, without much success. The drain itself is officially called the Beverley and Barmston Drain, built in 1798 to drain the salt marshes of the area. According to Covell, the drain has long history of tragedies orbiting it, and British Bigfoot sighting reports writes of his research into this. He's uncovered hundreds of tragedies spanning the length of the 23-mile-long drain, the earliest being the death of a 19-year-old Master Teasdale, who drowned in July 1824. Mr. Covell says that more than 100 people have drowned in the drain, including a double suicide where two young lovers bound their hands together and jumped in, he said. Master Teasdale was the first, but then men, women, and children followed almost at a rate of one a year. The summer months are the worst, when children could swim in Barmy Drain, and it got so bad that the Hull Corporation openly discussed paying for lifeguards to be stationed along the drain during the hotter months. It has a long, dark history, but walking along it during the day, it's a peaceful oasis surrounded by heavy industry. The year 1892 was a particularly terrible one, when an unknown boy was pulled from the drain in May and December of that same year. In December of that same year, George Sawin killed his two children, aged 4 and 6, and threw them in the drain before he jumped in himself and drowned. How horrible. Oh, dear God. Ugh. Does this tragic history have anything to do with the creature, said to lurk there? Or is it perhaps more spiritual in nature than in flesh and blood creature? Or is it all just tall tales and urban legends? Although the reports are rare and scattered, one wonders if there's anything to them at all. And Covell claims that many of the witnesses are honest people who have nothing to gain from telling such stories, and who genuinely seem to be afraid of what they've seen. Covell has said of how it has grown since his initial reports. It was a bit strange, but this couple, who I've known for years, are trustworthy and very sincere people. They were genuinely scared by something. I'm just not sure what. If it was just these two people seeing something, I might start getting suspicious, but other people have come forward in similar stories, and I've walked the drain a couple of times armed with recording equipment during the both day and night, but it's not the kind of thing you can openly ask people to participate in. Would you even like to come along looking for werewolves with me? Even I think it sounds crazy, but everyone who has reported sightings have been really down-to-earth people who are shaken by their ordeal. The sewer doesn't exactly seem to be the most prime locations for hairy hominid reports, but still these cases remain. What's going on here? Are these spirits, ghosts of interdimensional interlopers, or actual real undiscovered creatures using these dark, dank places to hide? While such reports are rare, they illustrate that the phenomena of hairy humanoid monster reports is even more bizarre than many people think, and it all goes deep down the rabbit hole of the bizarre. That it does, sir. That it does. And curious. Very, very curious. I don't know. It doesn't surprise me at all. And if you think about it, there's been long time. The long and weird historical mentions of the Bigfoot, just in particular mentions that it could very well be a subterranean creature, at least part of the time. Now, I do think that they probably succeed very, very well living just on the cusp of our societies. What better network for them to permeate those societies, largely unseen or unnoticed, than to use these huge tunnel systems? I mean, what a brilliant thing. And it makes perfect sense to me. If this is a being that wants to avoid detection, wants to avoid being seen, then the best way to not be seen is to be underground, because nobody's down there looking. It doesn't seem like a big stretch to me. I don't know. I don't pretend to know behaviorally what we can expect from these creatures, but if it were me and I was the one trying to carve a living or a life out of the wasteful excesses of a society of people, I would do it. I would use the tunnels. I would get in and out. It would be like freaking Hogan's Heroes, you know? I don't know. It just makes perfect sense. And if they are already perhaps at least partially subterranean, then I'm sure our tunnel systems are an absolute gift for them. And I do think the manhole covers mentioned by that police officer were very interesting, because manhole covers are not light. I mean, they can be lifted by, most adults, but they're not easy. They're not easy to lift. It takes a bit of effort. I have a coffee table made out of a manhole that my dad made for me, and it's freaking heavy. It's one of those tables that I love it. It's the most incredible table, because it's actually a manhole and the ring that goes into the pavement, and then he welded up a stand for it, but it's also unbearably heavy. And so, just saying, it doesn't surprise me even a little. So I think that's an amazing thought, and it does add to the narrative that people do see these beings, these creatures, in urban areas. Well, if they got a whole network of travel ways through and around and into our areas, then for sure they're going to use them. And it to me, again, it makes perfect sense. I don't even think it's a stretch of logic. So I wouldn't be surprised at all. Then, of course, we've all seen, including on this show, we've showcased some of the videos of some weird creatures that were allegedly recorded that look like bipedal lizard-like things. The claims of subterranean lizard beings in the LA area is a real big one too. So, I mean, there might be all kinds of things living under our feet. We just don't know. All right, so let's see. Where was I on this other one? This is, again, the creepy phone stories. Here's more of the... we got a few minutes left, so I'm going to go through some more of these Matrix stories, the glitches in the Matrix, and then that's probably going to wind us out. We're about running out of time. 6 minutes left, folks. That's how quickly time works in the portal. I used to work in a building that had 3 levels of sub-basements. Wrote one Reddit user, the piece of equipment I typically worked on was in the lowest basement, and I had the only key. There was a wired phone in there, and I did work late some nights, but not this night. I was sleeping alone in my apartment when I woke up to a call on my cell phone from my girlfriend at 3 a.m. She was in hysterics and asking why I scared her. Apparently, she received a call from that basement phone just minutes earlier, with someone who sounded like me slowly repeating her name until it crackled and faded out. That's all kinds of wrong. My apartment was 10 miles away from work. I thought she was lying, but I saw the 3 a.m. call from the basement phone logged on her cell phone myself. It still freaks me the hell out. Now, see, that to me sounds spiritual. That to me sounds more spiritual than glitchy Matrix stuff. Like someone's just taunting him or her or both. If you're not freaked out yet, this story should fix that. Number 10, my dad used to get up at around 3 a.m. every morning for work, wrote Desk Jockey 26. Starting at a very early age, I'd wake up on my own and wander downstairs to see him before he left. One morning when I was about 4 years old, I made it to the bottom of the stairs and noticed that the front door was ajar. I opened it up and saw my father in his favorite work shirt making his way down the driveway to his truck in his typical work outfit, plaid shirt and Dickies. I swung the door open wide and yelled for him to come back for a hug before he left. He slowly turned around and just stared at me and started walking back towards the house. He was looking so strangely at me that it started to scare me. I began crying and asking what was wrong. Just as he had almost reached me, a pair of arms encircled me from behind in a bear hug, and I turned my head to see my understandably freaked out father staring at his doppelganger in the same outfit. The double took one look at my dad and ran down the driveway. Meanwhile, my dad yanked me in the house and locked the door. Weirdest morning ever. Never did quite figure that one out. I would not trust my 4-year-old memory of the event. If it wasn't also witnessed by my own dad. He won't really talk about it these days, but my mom has since told me that he called out of work and spent the day reassuring him he wasn't a nutcase. And she spent the rest of the day reassuring him that he wasn't a nutcase. That's really weird. What the hell's going on there? Anyone? Show of hands? Anyone? Sorry. Just had to liven up the room a little bit here. It's getting kind of quiet. No, I think that's a creepy, creepy story. Especially the kid like, hey, come on, you forgot the hug. And then to have this thing turn around like, just robotically come back at him. He's like, what's wrong? What's wrong? And it's freaking the kid out. He's crying. Suddenly he feels his arms come around him and grab him and turns to see his dad. And his dad saw the doppelganger. That's really, really weird. So there you go, folks. Those are some glitches in the Matrix. And I don't know what you think about stuff like that, but I think it's definitely, again, there's a lot more going on here than we know. I don't know what that is. I think about it all the time because I want to understand it. I mean, that's the mystery of life, right? What is going on here? What is all these layers and layers and layers of stuff? And some of it seems so incidental and weird, and it does make you feel like Cypher from the Matrix. Like you almost want to just get plugged back in and forget about a lot of this stuff. But then again, it's truth. This is truth. Whatever this stuff is, I think is truth. It's like our whole truth. Maybe a more robust version of truth or whatever. And people out there may be like, oh, sure it is. I got a truth for you. But I do think that. I wouldn't be doing this show if I didn't believe that this stuff was legit. And I draw from my own experiences on a lot of that, on having an open mind, because I've experienced so many weird things. And I don't pretend to know necessarily even what I experienced. Yes, indeed, Brent. Yes, indeed. Thank you, Ruthie. Brent, thanks, brah. Great show. Much lovin's. Well, much lovin's right to you, Tuitan. Oh, you're Titan again. All right. But thank you all again for being here. It's always an amazing pleasure to do the shows. It's always a bigger pleasure that so many of you are here to enjoy it. Again, if you're new to the show, please get subscribed. I'd love for you to become part of the family. And we do live shows here on YouTube, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, Wednesday night through Sunday night. So I'll be back tomorrow with a 1-hour Sunday show, and then I'll be 2 days off, and then I'll be back, and perhaps Don will be here, and we'll do a 2-hour Wednesday show. But I hope you guys will join me, because it just makes me feel so much more validated. And definitely stick around past this show. Tonight, check out Paisley Wild, The Spaces Between. She's coming up. She's on deck. I see she's on deck. So that's going to wrap it up for us here, folks. I love you all. Be good, be kind, be nice. Take care of each other. Help each other out. Find the magic in every day. And remember to laugh as much as you can. I'll see you guys tomorrow night, 7 p.m. Be there.
Woo!